everybody. I'm Samara Rivers, founder of Black Bourbon Society, and we are kicking off a really cool series. It's a masterclass with Toki Sears. We'll be going into different cocktails every single week and also getting a little bit of cocktail history, all featuring Four Roses Bourbon. So let's welcome Toki. Hi, Toki.
Hi.
How are you
Hi,
today?
Black Bourbon Society.
So tell us about why you're so amazing. I know why you're so amazing, but I really want all of our members and everybody around the world to know why we are working with you and what type of bartender you are and about the masterclass that we're about to dive into.
Awesome. Well, my name is Toki. I am the lead bartender at Bar Margot in the Four Seasons Hotel. I've had quite a journey throughout my career as a professional bartender. I've met all kinds of amazing people and chefs and bartenders all over this country, and I learned a lot from them as well. So I took a lot of things that I've learned over the years and I've applied them to my skill set. I've had the privilege of working under James Beard Award nominated and winning chefs such as Chef Linton Hopkins, Chef Dwayne Nutter, formerly from One Flew South. He's currently in Mobile, Alabama. I've worked under, I used to work at the Intercontinental under Chef Art Smith. So I've had an amazing run. I don't even know what to say. Bartending has been the ride of my life. So.
Well, what made you become a bartender? I always love to know that question.
I've always loved drinking. And I always was a nerd about cocktails and learning about different spirits. And I've always been in the industry. Ever since I was in college, I was in the industry. And I always felt like, I know this is kind of to say, but I always felt like I knew more than a lot of the bartenders that I worked with at the time. And I had an opportunity to finally get behind the stick. And I took every single advantage that I could. Stayed humble and learned from the best, mentored under some of the best. And I've traveled, I've trained bartenders, I create cocktails for a living. This is what I do and I love it.
This is your passion.
Love it a lot. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we've checked credentials. You're certified. Let's go ahead and dive right into today's topic, which is on the old fashioned. So can you give us a little bit of history about the old fashioned and you know how to make it?
Definitely. So old fashioned is as a structure of a cocktail, is the oldest cocktail. And when I say structure of a cocktail, I mean that the ingredients and the elements used to make the cocktail. So any spirits, bitters, water, and sugar. That is the old-fashioned is the oldest cocktail. That's why they call it an old-fashioned cocktail. I want to read a quick snippet, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
This is one of the first times this structure was wrote about, and it was written out of London in the Transatlantic Sketches. And I quote, "Cocktail is composed of water with the addition of rum, gin, or brandy, as one chooses. A third of the spirit to 2/3 of the water. Add bitters and enrich with sugar." So that's one of the first times you kind of see that structure of the cocktail. Now incorporating the bourbon comes a little bit further down the line, right? You ever heard of Jerry Thomas?
Yes.
Yes. So Jerry Thomas wrote in his book in 1862 about a Holland gin old fashioned.
Wow.
And that was around 1862. So then around 1880, we have a bartender. His name was James. Let me make sure I got his name right. He was out of Louisville. His name was James Pepper, and he bartended at the Pendennis Club in Louisville. And that's when bourbon became bourbon and rye. Whiskey became incorporated into that structure. So that's what we are commonly associated with when we think about an old fashioned. So he took that recipe and went to New York, and he took that to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. So that's where the original version, which I'm about to show you right now, of an old fashioned that we're used to with bourbon originated.
Okay.
We'll go on to the next version in a little bit, but that's the structure for the original one.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show you how to make that.
Doing.
So we're gonna start off. Well, first of all, sugar can be very versatile, of course. So I've got some like sugar in the raw here. I wanted to get some sugar cubes, but going through this pandemic, it was just hard to find. I got some turbinado sugar packets here.
Okay.
I've got some simple syrup here. I think I'm going to use simple syrup with this one.
Okay, I have simple syrup as well.
Simple syrup?
Yep.
And a lot of people, especially cocktail aficionados, they feel a certain type of way about simple syrup. But if you think about the way you make an old fashioned, if I put a sugar cube and added a little water, I'm making simple syrup anyway, right? So I would like to start off with a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup.
Okay. So I'm going to be making 2 on my end.
Okay.
So I'm just going to double your recipe. So I'm going to do 1/2 ounce.
Correct.
And I'm pouring this where? In my mixing glass?
Since you're doing 2, you pour in your mixing glass. I'm gonna do 1, so I'm gonna build mine in my rocks glass. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I got my 1/2 ounce.
Mm-hmm. So whenever we build cocktails, we always want to go from the least expensive least expensive ingredient. I'm so sorry. Least expensive ingredient up to the most expensive. And the reason why is because, well, especially from a professional bartender standpoint, the reason why is because if you mess up on your cocktail and I poured the spirit first, then you're kind of wasting the liquor. But that probably doesn't count for home drinks, because you're just gonna take that down anyway. So we're gonna add some bitters next.
Professional, so I'm gonna make it just how you are. So sugar.
So let's go ahead and grab our bitters.
Okay.
Angostura.
Okay.
Recipes I've read, they say, some say 3 dashes, some say 4 to 5. I like 6. It's really up to your preference.
So I'm with you. I overload on the bitters. I love the flavors. And sometimes I'll put Ango. Sometimes I won't even use Angostura. I'll use like an orange vanilla bitter or just regular orange. I have one that's a sassafras and sorghum one.
That sounds delicious.
I just throw everything in there and figure it out when I taste it. But we'll stick to the traditional cocktail. So 6 dashes.
I'm gonna do 6 dashes.
Okay, I probably put a little bit more in mine because I'm making 2.
It's all right.
Do 2 more splashes because I love the bitters. Okay.
Next, we're gonna go to the star of the show. We're going to add 2 ounces of our Four Roses small batch.
Okay.
And I love Four Roses small batch for many reasons. I think it's very mellow to drink. The flavors are always very balanced. And being as though it is small batch, the consistency is there.
So I'm doing, I know folks are looking at me at home like, how many is she pouring in here? But because I'm making 2, I put 4 ounces of small batch in it. Yeah, I agree with you with Four Roses small batch. I think it goes perfect in a cocktail. It's 90 proof, which means it's got enough oomph to stand through the sugar and the bitters. But it's very mellow, has great flavors. You can totally taste the structure of bourbon, especially in old fashioned. It's got that notes, those vanilla notes and oak notes that still shine all the way through.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a special bourbon, perfect for an old fashioned.
So we're gonna go ahead and add ice.
Okay.
And go ahead and add ice to your rocks glasses as well.
Okay. So I'm adding.
She's got fancy ice.
Yes, they're
those are beautiful.
We'll have to figure out how to make clear ice later.
Yes. We're gonna do a clear ice class soon.
Okay, but I'll put ice in my mixing glass. Now, how much ice should I pour in my mixing glass?
What you have in there looks like it's enough.
Oh, what I have is enough? I don't need
it looks like it. Maybe a little bit more. You want to do kind of a little bit more than halfway.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
So if you want to go ahead and grab, it'll be all right. Let's go ahead and grab your spoon. So the key to stirring cocktails, I know I'm doing mine in a glass and you're doing yours in a mixing glass, to make sure that the back of the spoon is the inside of your glass or your mixing glass. Okay. Okay, so it's almost like it's in the wrist. It's not in the hand. It's not in your fingers. It's almost like holding a pencil or holding a fork.
Got it.
So you're almost, you're gliding the ice, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I've seen some people try to stir drinks and they're like.
And I've seen it to where it almost looks like they're whisking a drink. So it's a simple. Yeah.
Just really, you're not supposed to hear the ice.
Okay. But, so I'm loud over here. Let me try and do that.
That's all right.
All right.
So if you want to go ahead and take your strainer, and we can go ahead and split those two, and then we're going to garnish.
Okay. So I'm using a Hawthorne strainer.
And you can also use a julep strainer. You think everyone knows what it, should I show them what a julep strainer looks like?
Yeah, I think so.
Let me grab one real quick. So anyone wondering, this is a julep strainer, and then this, and what Samara is holding, this is a Hawthorne strainer. So julep strainers, you can definitely use a Hawthorne strainer in your mixing glass to strain. Cool thing about julep strainers, they're kind of designed to fit right inside of mixing glasses as well.
I need to get one of those. I do like the Hawthorne strainers because it almost fits like a cap on it.
Definitely.
To control it, but definitely need to get a julep strainer as well. Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and garnish our old fashioned. Do you have a peeler?
I do.
Excellent.
This is
so I'm going to do
one, so it'll slice really thin on this side, and then it'll grind on that side.
So I'm just going to do, I'm going to do an orange and a lemon twist, but an orange is just fine.
Okay.
I just personally like how the lemon kind of balances out the perceived sweetness of the orange.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Got 2 long strips.
So this is going to be like our perfume for the cocktail. Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to express the oils from our orange and or lemon, whatever you prefer. You can do one or the other, or you can do both. So when we do this, make sure that the outside skin is toward your drink.
Okay.
And then we're going to snap.
Right.
When you snap that peel, you're going to see the orange, the oils express onto the drink. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to snap that. You see that?
Yep.
Get that in there. I'm going to do the same for my lemon. Get that in there. You smell that? It's almost like
it's so amazing.
Cocktail perfume. That's what I call it.
And so what do? I just, after I spritz it, I just put it in there?
I like to leave it. You can express and retain. So express and retain mean you can leave it in the glass, or you can express and discard. But normally I keep it in the glass.
Okay. Yeah, nothing goes to waste in a good cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
You can see when it expresses, it like bubbles up on the top of the
Oh,
surface.
it's beautiful. You can definitely see the how, yeah, definitely the oil and the water separate. Just a little tiny droplets on top.
Okay.
All right. Want to give it a taste?
Yes. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Oh, that's good.
So simple, right?
Yeah.
And it just rounds out the bourbon. Gives it a little sweetness, but not too much.
Not too much.
Makes it nice and palatable.
And you know, the thing about I love about Four Roses, it has citrus notes in it. That like
Definitely.
the small batch and the single barrel, which we'll get to later on in our series. A lot of orange citrus notes that come out of the bourbon, and I feel like this
Definitely.
is out. I'm also getting. I know we didn't use anything with cinnamon in it, but the cinnamon that is typically found in the baking spices that's typically found in the small batch is like radiating in this cocktail. It's really,
Definitely.
yeah.
It's delicious. Everything is nice and balanced, and it enhances the bourbon.
I'm going to put this one up here for show.
I'm going to take one more sip.
You at home, guys?
It's so good.
Okay, I'll put this.
All right. You have any questions?
No, just really, I'm going to continue to sip. Oh, we didn't use cherry. Is that okay? Or is that in the—
Say it again?
We didn't use a cherry. Is that okay for this? Or do we use it in other versions of it?
We're going to use the cherry coming up in this next one.
Okay. So,
and I do know that a lot of people do like, or do, some people do expect the cherry with an old fashioned, right?
Right.
Some people expect that.
You really don't need it. This is good on its own.
Not at all. I think the cherry is kind of like trying to merge both old fashions into one, you know, like make it like that, but add the cherry. But we're gonna talk about where the cherry comes from right now.
Okay, so I'm just gonna sit here and ask questions and.
So, in the 90s, the version of an old fashioned that I'm about to make right now was definitely more dominant than the version I just made, right? So around 1930, during Prohibition, is where this version comes out.
Okay.
So we're talking about 50 plus years later.
Yeah, almost 60 years, yeah.
Okay. And the reason why this version came about during Prohibition, the production and consumption of alcohol was illegal. But people were still drinking. And unfortunately, the quality a lot of times of spirits wasn't there. They didn't have many options. You had people, you know, making things and they didn't quite know what they were doing, you know, your bathtub gins and things of that sort. So people weren't really getting this type of quality of bourbons. So they had to do things to mask the flavor of ill quality spirits. And to do that, they would do things like mellow fruit and make it sweeter and things of that sort, stretch it out. So that's what we're going to make now. So I'm going to start off with an orange slice.
Okay.
And a couple of cherries.
I think I can do that. I've got a little bit of orange left over. I may try and keep as much as I can. Let's see. I have a knife over here. Okay.
I'm going to take my handy dandy Four Roses muddler. And I'm just going to press this fruit in the bottom of the glass.
Okay. Oh, let me dump this. Are you doing this in your glass or in your mixing glass?
I'm going to do it in the glass.
Okay.
Sometimes I find it when I'm muddling ingredients that are going to stay in the drink. I like to build it in the drink, usually.
Okay.
unless it's a shake and drink, but we can talk about that at a future class.
All right. Well, I'm gonna find a glass. Let me rinse this off.
All right.
Get all the dishwasher stuff off of it.
Okay. Oh my goodness, that's so good. So good.
Okay, so what have we done so far?
So I've muddled 2 cherries and an orange.
Okay.
Slice.
Let me catch up. All right.
All right.
Got glass, orange peel, you said, right?
Orange, perfect.
Orange slice. Then cherries. Oops. Okay. And let me grab my muddler. Okay. And how do I muddle? Just mash it in?
Just give it a nice press. You don't have to destroy it. That's perfect. You don't have to destroy it, but we're just gonna, that's perfect.
Okay.
So we're gonna add sugar now. So we're gonna somewhat follow the recipe we used before. So we're gonna go back to 1/4 ounce of sugar. Or simple syrup, I'm so sorry, 1/4 ounce of simple syrup.
Okay.
And for anyone who's not familiar with simple syrup, please don't buy simple syrup. It's so easy to make.
Yes.
It's equal parts water, warm water. I mean, even if you don't want to bring the water to a boil, it's equal parts warm water and sugar. And you just stir it until it's dissolved. It's the easiest thing. Easiest thing. So I added 1/4 ounce. We're gonna add some bitters.
6 shakes.
Let's do 6. That's the lucky number, 6.
That's my birth date number.
Really?
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
And we're going back to the small batch, right?
Okay. 2 ounces.
2 ounces.
We're gonna do 2 ounces of the small batch. Okay. And then we're gonna add ice.
Okay. Do you do an ice mold with this or just regular, ice?
For this one, just considering that with the muddling and stuff, I would use regular ice. I don't think I would use a ball on this one, just for the sake of how it stirs.
Okay, I have plenty of ice like that.
Okay.
Like that?
I'm gonna give it a quick stir. It's perfect. A little stir, move everything around.
All right, going slow so not to make a noise. All right.
Perfect. Do you have any club soda?
Club soda. I think I do. It's not cold, but I think I do.
It doesn't have to be cold. And we're gonna just add a splash of club soda on top.
Oh, okay. I'll be right back with my club soda. Okay, club soda.
And just a little splash on top. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
And
that's it. So this is the more modernized version coming out of Prohibition of the old fashioned.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, I've never had an old fashioned with club soda, but I really like that. I love this.
Vastly different.
Yeah.
Much fruitier. A little less spirit forward. But it's yummy.
But it is. It's very fruity, and I like the spritz from the club soda. Awesome. I've typically seen some recipes for old fashioned with club sodas, and I've always snubbed my nose at them and said, "Oh, that's not original," but it is. There's just like so many different
Variations.
Of or additions of the old fashioned.
Definitely.
Great. Okay, now which one is your favorite? The one we're about to make, the ones that we've made.
The original is my favorite.
Okay.
That's my personal favorite.
Okay.
I just think that if it's not broke, don't fix it. So. But you can have fun with the old fashioned, and I see that you play around with. You have a blood orange old fashioned that you play around with, right?
Oh yeah, I have some amazing blood oranges. They're actually like raspberry oranges.
Really?
And so I juice those, and I add some juice, like maybe a half ounce of the juice to my to basically this recipe right here, and it brings a whole new flavor. And
that sounds delicious.
Impressed with that. Yep.
You ever thought about taking that juice and making a syrup out of it?
I have, but don't know how. I know how to make the simple syrup 1-to-1.
Right.
And I haven't gotten creative with making simple syrups with fruits or with other things in it. So tell me what I'm supposed to do.
Well, maybe we can do a syrups lesson at some point. I found that with playing with syrups, it's really just about experimentation. Like syrups can be as easy as grabbing some warm simple syrup and putting some rosemary in it and letting it steep. Or you could, like you're talking about your raspberry oranges, you could juice those. Don't bring it up quite to a boil, but just warm enough to dissolve the sugar into it. And then let that dissolve. And then I would add a little bit of fresh juice on the back end to kind of brighten it back up. Okay. Things like that. It's really experimentation, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, I think I want to play around with that because we can then use like a blood orange simple syrup in the same type of a cocktail as an old fashioned, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so show us this last one because I think you've done something somewhat similar to that.
Yeah, I did a little twist on the old fashioned. I used winter spices, made a little bit of syrup. It's kind of thick. I put some anise in here. I put some cinnamon in here. What else did I put in here? And a little bit of allspice. So I'm gonna make old fashioned with that. And it's gonna be garnished with a brulee cinnamon stick. And I'm gonna flame a orange twist on that.
Fancy.
I'll show you how to do that real quick.
Let's see.
So the structure stays the same. The basic structure stays the same. So still doing 1/4 ounce of my sugar. I want to play up on that anise flavor a little bit. So I'm gonna add some Peychaud's bitters to it as well as Angostura.
I love Peychaud's.
I do too.
Are just amazing. Those are Creole bitters, right? And
yes.
So make them a little bit different from the Angostura bitters.
So all bitters are different. It just depends on. So bitters are concentrations of basically it's like super concentrated flavors, barks, roots, herbs. Sometimes they use fruit. They can use all different kinds of things. Basically, the biggest difference is what they're made out of and the flavor components. So I get more out of Angostura. I get more cinnamon, allspice, that kind of flavor. Peychaud's gives me more like licorice anise kind of vibe. Yeah. And Peychaud. So this is actually I'm going to talk about this too because it's interesting. So Dr. William Peychaud, who created these bitters in New Orleans. Okay, and he also created, do you know what cocktail he created?
I'm gonna guess if it came out of New Orleans, he probably made oh my god, it's on the top of my tongue. The one with the absinthe. It's actually my favorite one, and I never get it outside of New Orleans. It's a Sazerac, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I had to get there. I had seal box stuck in my head, and I'm like, that's not it.
But no, the Sazerac is completely correct. Okay,
so never order a Sazerac outside of New Orleans. I just never had a good one.
Well, come to me. I can make you a good one. I make pretty good Sazeracs. So I don't know if you knew this. Sazerac is an old-fashioned family.
Yes, it is with the absinthe spritz.
So the absinthe, so we're talking about old fashions in different categories. So you have old fashions, and then they have another category that they call fancy, right? When we see fancy, that means that there's an element of like a curacao added to it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another category called improved.
Improved.
So improved means that there is a little bit of absinthe in it.
Awesome.
So Sazerac is a form of an improved old fashioned.
Love it. No wonder why I love it.
I love patios. But anyway, back to this cocktail. This is not a Sazerac, guys, so don't. We'll make that maybe another time.
Yeah, we can do those on another time because we should talk about absinthe. I've been like my experiences with the Sazeracs are people just pouring the absinthe straight into the cocktail. They forget that the absinthe is a rinse or even like
a spray
around the glass. And so then you get it and it's so overpowering.
Right.
Enjoy the cocktail at all.
Right. Absinthe a little bit goes a long way. And even people that drink absinthe, you have to drink it very much diluted. Right. And take your time with it because it'll knock you out.
Yes, it will. That's the purpose of absinthe.
It'll knock you out. So I've got my specialty syrup in here. I've added 3 dashes of Peychaud's, and I've added my 6 dashes of Angostura bitters.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and add my Four Roses small batch now. 2 ounces. Let me see if I got some more ice. Hopefully it's not all melted. All right, got a little bit of ice working. So I'm gonna go ahead and stir this up. Get a lighter. I'm going to express a flamed orange peel. Okay. Yeah. So same concept as what we did before. I do prefer to use matches. I don't have any matches, so I'm gonna use a lighter today.
Okay.
When you flame, you want to make sure that you kind of sweat. Give it a little sweat. That's gonna pull the oils out. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I feel like I should say one of those do not try these at home, but I absolutely want to try this.
Oh, you can definitely try this at home.
So you can just kind of flame it up, pull out the oils, and then...
I didn't like how that one flamed. Let me see if I can get a better one.
Okay.
A lot of times, it really depends on how the pores and the fruit kind of wants to behave.
Okay.
There we go. I can smell that one for sure.
Okay. So that pulls up all of those aromas straight to the... Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm getting like a little smoky or smoked orange kind of.
Excellent.
Aroma.
I'm so good.
I've taken some a cinnamon stick that I put a little bit of simple syrup on the outside, and I sprinkled some turbinado sugar on that and let it dry. So we're gonna flame this a little bit as well. A torch would definitely work much better than this little lighter.
I am fascinated. But you said you could use like a match, right?
Yeah, well, for flaming for this part, I would rather use a lighter or a torch. But for the peel, a match is definitely way better. I got that aroma kicking off. Oh, that smells so good. Wow. And then we're gonna stir that right on in there. And that's it.
So you expressed with the orange, but did you put
Hmm.
the orange in there as well?
No, I wanted the cinnamon to be my actual official garnish. So the proper term is that I expressed and discarded the peel.
Got it. Express.
But you still have the oil and the essence still in the cocktail.
So that was express and discard. This is express and retain
Retain or keep.
or keep.
Hmm.
So fancy. Like there's a whole technology when it comes to mixology.
It's a lot, but it's fun.
Okay. Well, we've made 3 different old fashions today.
Hmm.
Traditional one that dates back to the 1800s.
Hmm.
A modified version with muddled fruit and
Hmm.
a splash of club soda that resurged in the 90s, right?
Right, from 1930. Uh-huh.
The 1930s. And then we've got the one that you made, which was a riff off of an old fashioned. And really, it has the same principles, like you said, except it plays more with different bitters, the shows, and has the flamed orange oil and the cinnamon stick, which just based off of the original cocktail, one of the things that I said was you can already taste that cinnamon in there.
Definitely.
For Four Roses. So I know with what you've got going on, it's even more floral and cinnamony than usual.
Right.
Um, so before we go, I want to talk about Four Roses. We know that they've got different expressions, and we'll get to all 4 of them during or all 3 of them during the course of the cocktail series, the masterclass. But let's just kind of go through. This is their Four
That
Roses.
is their bourbon. Hmm.
And so the one we use today, Four Roses Bourbon, is excellent, right?
Definitely. Yes.
It goes well in cocktails.
Definitely.
For classic cocktails like this, we chose to go with the small batch,
The small batch, yes.
right? Now,
So it's got that nice flavor, that nice base, and that consistency, and it's high enough proof to really stand out in a cocktail.
and what about behind you? You've got some. I actually drank all of my single barrel, but
Hmm.
you've got one. So can you tell us a little bit about the single barrel?
Certainly. So a single barrel. I'm sure that all of our Black Bourbon Society friends are familiar with single barrel versus small batch.
Right,
Single barrels are quite delicious. Single barrels are pulled from one barrel,
right,
right? So this particular barrel was located in warehouse number NN, and this is from barrel 4-4E.
right.
So they're very transparent as far as the origin of this, and it makes it very, very special because it's unique.
Right,
And no 2 barrels are going to taste exactly the same.
right. Yeah,
Um, Four Roses single barrel is usually around, yes, 100 proof. I find that it's fantastic in cocktails and for sipping as well.
right, right. I typically drink my single barrel neat, which is
Hmm.
why I drank it all, and I don't have
Hmm.
for our series. But yes, for our cocktails, I typically use a small batch. I
Hmm.
also have their latest expression, which is the small batch select. And
Hmm. That's
this,
fantastic.
oh my goodness, I think this is a total winner for them. It's 104 proof,
Definitely.
small batch select, and
Hmm.
it is just dynamic. And I like this on its own. You can put it in a cocktail if you want to
Hmm.
stand out, but I think it's perfect on its own. And then I have a special treat in my collection. This is actually a gift from one of our Bourbonite members, and that is the 130th edition of their small batch series. So I'm happy to have this, and this is 108.4 proof. And so, yeah, this is my baby. I just wanted to show it off.
Yeah, show that off. We had a bottle of that at the hotel. It didn't last too long.
It doesn't last long.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, one bottle that I totally missed out on was the 50th anniversary. Al Young created to celebrate Al Young's 50th year with a distillery. And I still am kicking myself for not being able to secure that bottle because I've had it at your hotel, I've had it in New Orleans, and I absolutely love that dram. But I
Yeah.
don't have it in my collection. And of course, now that he's passed on,
Transition.
I
Yeah.
did have that. Yeah.
Al was the best. He was so kind, and I was fortunate that I actually saw him in November. Saw
Did
him
you?
around a month before he passed, and he was just a total sweetheart.
Oh yeah,
You know
totally.
he wrote this book, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
Hmm.
have that book. It's in my house in LA.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
So
Yep. He
he it's a great book, and it goes through the history of Four Roses and the history of what was going on at the time, and the love story, and all of the different changes and the evolution of the brand.
So maybe
So
we'll dive into that next season. Next episode, we'll go more into the history of Four Roses and talk
definitely,
about how this brand got started because it is a love story.
it is.
It does include roses. So yeah, so we'll let everyone know so they can fall in love with the story as well.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so
That's what we need. We need more love, more
yeah,
cocktails. I need some challenging times for a lot of people, and make yourself an old fashioned, and we're
and
gonna come through this together.
the model for Black Bourbon Society has become in these recent years keeping spirits high with spirits.
That's
So
perfect.
I really hope that our members, and if you're listening to us through IGTV or through YouTube, it's okay within moderation. It's a simple cocktail to make. Like we said, historically, this goes back over 100 years,
Right.
almost 150 years,
Right.
to say it's a little bit of sugar, a little bit of water, and
Right.
a little bit of whiskey,
Right. It's so easy.
and it goes a long way.
Definitely. Awesome.
Well, this has been a first great episode of our masterclass with Toki. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of our society. And I hope you enjoy these cocktails using Four Roses bourbon. And we'll see you next time. Our next episode will be on brown derbies.
Yes.
And so go ahead, go to the grocery store, get your grapefruits now, get some honey now, and when we'll see you again, we'll all make brown derbies.
It's gonna be fun.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Have a good evening.